You want to act this way, then you're going to lose everything.
We listened to stories like Rose McGowan's, who was one of the first celebrities to accuse him of sexual assault. It was 1997, and she was at the Sundance Film Festival, already a star in the making. Weinstein invited her to his hotel room, where, she says, he raped her.
Skilled predators take a lion. They look for the weakest one in the pack, don't they? The one without the protection. Because there were actresses he didn't target because they had better representation or better people around them, or there was something they didn't have that crack, maybe. But he targeted an awful lot.
If Weinstein what he wanted, or forfeit a dream? That's the choice Dawn Dunning says she had to make too. She's a costume designer now, but back in 2003, she was a young actress looking for her big break. She met Weinstein while she was working in a nightclub, and he said he could help. After several screen tests, she went to what she thought was a business meeting in a hotel suite.
When I got there, he opened the door and he was in an open robe. On the coffee table, he had 3 small stacks of paper. And he said, "These are contracts for my next 3 films. I will sign them today, but I want you to have a threesome with me and my assistant." I laughed. I thought he was joking. And when I started laughing, he got angry. And that's when I got scared. He started yelling at me. And he said, "You'll never make it in this business. This is how this industry works. This is how," he named 3 actresses. "This is how they got to where they are." He went on. And then at that point, the door was pretty close behind me. And I just turned and went for the door. I could still hear him yelling.
The more powerful he got, the more blatant the alleged behavior. It was an open secret in Hollywood. But even those who exercised caution say they were targets, like Louisette Geiss, who was invited to pitch a script at the Sundance Festival.
He said, "Well, why don't we reconvene in my office?" Well, they turn hotel rooms into offices when you're at these festivals. That's just the norm. But I still felt a little hesitant, obviously. I knew that this was a huge opportunity, and I didn't want to give that opportunity up. But at the same time, I looked at him in the eye and I said, "There's a camera right there, so I'll go up to your office and meet with you, but you're not allowed to touch me." And I said, "You have to shake my hand."
Inside the room, Louisette says things changed.
He pulled me to his bathroom and we both stood in front of the mirror, and he's like, "Just watch me." He wanted me to watch him masturbate. And finally I just ripped my arm away and he followed me out of the room saying, "Look, I can give you a 3-picture deal. I can greenlight your film. Like, this is ridiculous. This is all you have to do. Everybody does it. There's lots of other women who have done this." Personally, I think he enjoyed the switch, which is then he comes out, he's naked, it's a whole different tone, the energy's different, it's much more aggressive and angry, and he watches us, like almost like the prey, like, okay, now what are you gonna do? I think he loved the power struggle. I think he loved to watch in our faces the fear. That's what I truly believe.
But in this case, the legal argument was...
Weinstein apparently cast his net wide. Lauren Sivan was a young reporter when she met him at a dinner party in a restaurant he part-owned. He offered her a tour of the kitchen, and she followed him.
I realized that this was a bad situation, and I said, "I'm gonna go back upstairs. I saw the kitchen, I'm good." He leaned in to kiss me, and I said, "I'm so sorry if I gave you the wrong impression, but I'm not interested. I'm dating someone, I'm gonna go back upstairs." And at that point he got kind of irritated, and he asked me, just stand there and be quiet. And I was a little shocked to hear that because his tone changed dramatically, but he blocked my exit. And I thought to myself, what is he gonna do? And that's when he just started masturbating in front of me, and I just stood there kind of frozen. I was 27, 28 when I had this encounter with him, and I just remember feeling stupid, feeling really dumb, standing there and watching this man, you know, do what he was doing and thinking to myself, how could I be so dumb? How could I think that he was really interested in me and what I had to say about news and history and world politics? He had a plan. He knew exactly how to get me down there. And just the callousness of it, like, just stand there and be quiet then, because this is going to happen whether you participate or not. That struck me as something that he's done before.
Sarah Ann Mass went to Weinstein's home to be interviewed for a job as his children's nanny. There, she says, he assaulted her.
I had sort of been warned by his assistants ahead of time that, he's a Hollywood guy, they're kind of different. But I never translated that to mean that he was going to, sexually assault me. During the whole incident, it was just shock and fear and discomfort because, you're in a professional environment. It's certainly not something you're expecting. And he also had a huge anger outburst at his children. And so it was just like a very terrifying experience for me. And I remember really distinctly driving there. I remember the road I took and the exit and everything. And then I don't remember getting home.
I constantly felt trapped. He cornered me over and over again.
Every woman we talked to described the same feeling of being caught in Weinstein's web. Entrepreneur Melissa Thompson says he raped her after a business meeting.
I never had a choice. Like, it's Harvey's choice. And it's like Harvey is playing cards with a stacked deck. The outcomes are fixed. The women lose. I felt like, who would care if I said anything?
There is still a profound sense of loss over what might have been. Louise Godbold was a young woman when she had her own experience with Weinstein. Now she's a trauma specialist, a choice shaped by what happened to her.
Many of us are mourning the careers that we could have had. I think that's the number one thing that's being mourned. There are very many women who are saying that their careers could have been so much more illustrious had Harvey not set about destroying them.
When you have someone who is the most powerful man in Hollywood telling you this is how it works, I believe them, like that, is coming from the horse's mouth. I was like, okay, this is, not gonna work for me because I'm not willing, to go that far for it,
When you're kind of almost hunted and treated like a piece of meat, that does something to you. No woman at any stage of her life should be told that you have to do a sexual act in order to have a career. I'm sorry, but it's pretty basic.
Harvey Weinstein has always maintained that any sexual encounters were consensual. But his accusers say he preyed on vulnerable young women, unchecked, for nearly 3 decades. They want to know how and why it continued for so long. There are lots of reasons why no one stood up to Harvey Weinstein. One of them is that well before he was famous, he was known as a bully. In the summer of 1980, Paula Wojciech worked for Weinstein on his first film. It was a horror called The Burning. Paula was to become one of the earliest alleged victims of Weinstein's inappropriate behavior.
I didn't realize how upset I was until I got outside the door and I kind of started shaking and I broke down and started crying.
Later on set, Paula says Weinstein tracked her down to gloat about exposing himself.
He walked up behind me and said, So, was it the high point of your internship to see me naked? And I just said, no, Harvey, frankly, you disgust me. And he laughed and he went. He had no other reason to be there except to torment me.
Former employees say it only got worse from there. Harvey and his brother Bob moved to New York City to run their film company, Miramax.
They were cruel, both of them. Harvey in particular, but Bob was right there with him.
Mark Lipsky was the head of marketing.
They couldn't help themselves. Every girl in the office cried. I don't know what the expense budget was for flowers, but lots of money was spent on, next day apologies and begging forgiveness. I think a lot of people who worked for them felt stuck.
Why don't you think anybody stopped him?
He's a big, scary guy. The people surrounding both of them, but Harvey in particular, were completely dependent on him and on the company for their careers. And there were scary guys.
But it wasn't just about fear. Weinstein was a force of nature, and people were drawn to him.
We all struggled trying to follow social norms around him, and he unfooted us all. And he was a very charismatic, confusing, powerful, frightening, exciting, fun too, person to be around. And, he played with all those emotions with you all the time. So you were always in a sort of state of slight confusion and survival with him. He knew how humans worked. That's what made him such a great storyteller, such a great producer.
The thing with abusive relationships is that people keep coming back to them or rationalizing the behavior. That definitely happened.
He could be the way he would verbally attack people that worked for him was vicious. It was really awful. I mean, he would reduce people to tears, but it always seemed in service of what he wanted best for a particular film or a particular project. So in a way, in my mind, I excused it. I said, well, he's just that passionate about what he wants for this movie.
Michael Apostolina was head of creative affairs at Miramax in the late 80s and early 90s.
I guess there was enough that was so extraordinary and that you were learning so much and that, you would work on something and in the next month it would be in theaters nationwide and there would be Oscar talk. So the horrible part seemed not okay, but I guess this is the price, that you have to pay.
Things moved at breakneck speed. For Bob Weinstein's assistant, Kathy DeClesis, there was little time to think clearly about what might have been happening.
We were distributing, 16, 18 films a year? It was insane what was going on there. I remember working probably 80, 90 hours a week, consistently. So you would see something out of the corner of your eye when you're running down a hallway, like Harvey flirting with a new blonde receptionist out at the front. And you're like, okay, so he's just being a weasel, cheating on his wife. But never did I ever think that there was more than that going on. He was just being kind of lecherous,
In 1990, a serious incident revealed things were apparently much worse than that. But still, Weinstein remained untouchable.
A lawsuit was delivered to the office. It was disseminated verbally about what the contents of this lawsuit were, which was that he had sexually attacked or molested an intern, and it all made sense because this young woman, she had worked there for a while. She was very, very young, very eager, and one day just poof, she vanished.
I opened this one envelope and from an attorney's office, and this was a very different kind of a letter. All I saw was red. I was completely and utterly disgusted and furious.
Everybody started talking about it, and more started coming out. Another employee who I can't name pulled me aside at one point and said, boy, on this lawsuit, on this one, he's really going to have to pay a lot this time. And I was like, this time? So we knew. Everybody knew. Everybody knew.
Even with the allegation as common knowledge, nothing happened to Harvey Weinstein. Bob Weinstein says that he cannot recall the incident and has always insisted that he didn't know about the extent of his brother's alleged harassment and assault of women.
Do you think that Bob knew what his brother might have been doing behind closed doors?
Well, he certainly knew when I handed him the letter that came from the law office. Harvey got a letter, Bob got a letter. Bob knew, of course he knew. Of course he knew. How do you not know? He was involved in the settlement for his brother.
After an argument, Kathy left.
I said, you know what? I quit, and your brother is a fucking pig.
People might listen to these stories and say, you had a responsibility to do something.
I did.
And you didn't.
And I didn't.
Why not?
That's a difficult question to answer. I want to fall back on, I was in my early 20s and it was naivete, but that's not really an excuse. It's not that we didn't have a concept of sexual harassment, but we didn't know what to do with it. And this is terrible, but this is what I did. It seemed shrug-offable,
I don't feel comfortable.
Honey, don't have a fight with me on the phone. Please, I'm not going to do anything. I swear, my children. Please come in. On everything, I'm a famous guy.
Even those who didn't shrug it off were thwarted. Model Ambra Batilana Gutierrez went as far as wearing a wire for the NYPD after she reported that Weinstein groped her.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
Please come in now. And 1 minute. And if you want to leave, when the guy comes with my jacket, you can go.
Yesterday you touched my breast.
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on. I'm used to that.
Are you used to that?
Yes, come in.
No, but I'm not used to that.
I won't do it again. Come on. Sit here.
But the Manhattan District Attorney's Office said the tape wasn't enough to prove a crime and declined to press charges. Others were quietly discouraged from making a fuss.
I was told that if I said anything that, he's got a team of lawyers and you don't want to do that because they'll take me down and nobody's going to believe you.
Weinstein's assistant, Zelda.
I felt it was partly my responsibility because I had left this girl with him to do her job. And so it was my responsibility to make sure that this was stopped and that this couldn't happen again. And I presumed that the law would back me up on that.
Instead, Weinstein's legal team swung into action. And like others, Zelda found herself signing a restrictive non-disclosure agreement.
It was made very clear to me right from the start, from my own representation, that I was on a losing ticket. And the power disparity was too large, and who was going to listen to us? Harvey behaved the way he behaved because he could. He could pay to shut everything down. He had the power to tell everybody what to do. He was above the...
The world watched as Weinstein walked the red carpets. Little evidence of his alleged behavior beyond rumor and gossip. Melissa Thompson changed that by trusting us to tell her story, one she's kept secret for 7 years, hoping it would reveal Weinstein's almost masterful ability to abuse his power. It's It's September 2011, and 28-year-old Melissa is in the Weinstein Company offices in New York City. She's here to pitch her tech startup company's new video platform, and as part of the demo, she's recording the meeting. She's expecting to see the marketing team, but Weinstein arrives alone, asks staff for privacy, and locks the door. Melissa says that a few hours after this, he raped her.
Incorrect. All right, hello, Melissa Thompson.
Hello, Harvey Weinstein.
How are you?
Happy New Year.
That's nice.
How's your day?
How's your day?
I was thinking, okay, he's hugging me. What do I do now? I was sensing I have to be a little bit more vigilant of this situation than I originally thought. It is so painful to watch it back for multiple reasons, because I look at myself and I had no idea what was going on.
Melissa and Weinstein have met briefly once before, but this is their first formal encounter.
So I'll have to flirt with you?
Well, a little bit.
A little bit, not much, right? Okay, then, all right, then I won't. So what do you want?
No, it's okay. So I have how your hand in so many things, and you do so many things, so I have a lot to tell you.
Every time that he towed the line of being inappropriate enough where I may have said something, he could sense it, and he pulled back and he changed the dynamic again.
We can have like to win 2 VIP passes to the premiere in New York, and they have to like it. So now you're generating all these likes on your Facebook page.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to use your service.
Good.
On Marilyn Monroe.
Good.
And then, you can sign me up, tell your boss.
And so he's going from almost pulling a trigger on using this platform to then he put his hand up under the table, up my dress. I was trying to save face a bit. At first, I was trying to kind of manage the situation. There was a combination of confidence and naivety that led me to, this dynamic that we see now.
Data's so hot, right?
What's that?
Data's so hot.
It is hot.
A little bit. A little hot. It's a little high. That's a little high. So another thing I was thinking is, Sarah. I don't know how much you were involved, but the Sarah Jessica Parker movie with Skyrocket. Were you using Skyrocket? Some kind of app thing. I don't know, never mind. It was like a buy the look, where they wanted to, in the trailer, they wanted people to be able to buy her clothing, so they partnered with Outlook and whatever, Blue Fly.
It's not me.
Okay, whatever. I can do that too.
I tried to keep it on script in terms of pitching him the product, but
he was still touching you on the shoulder.
He was still touching me on the shoulder.
What's running through your head as that's happening?
What do I do? How did I get myself here? I lost my train of thought, and I was trying so hard to gain back my own mental footing. At some point, his whole affect changed, and he looked like a predator. His eyes became dark. I was reeling over the dynamic he created and was controlling, and I couldn't understand how to counterbalance him, and the answer is it wasn't possible. But at the time, I didn't know that, and I was sort of struggling with it.
What would you say to someone who might watch that and say, well, Melissa was flirting with him? Is that what you see when you watch it?
It was more tricky than I think it's possible to judge from looking at it. I worked on Wall Street before I went to business school, and I worked in an environment that was heavily male-dominated. I thought I could handle it. I had never met anyone that I couldn't handle until Harvey Weinstein.
When you go to the kitchen, you adjust the angle of the computer.
I did.
Why?
I knew that I was losing the ability to control the situation and keep it professional, so I had entered that fight or flight mode, and I was scared of him.
What was that? I'm gonna go edit a movie, but I'll meet you somewhere. Meet you for a drink.
What time?
It's 3:34. And 5:30 trip I could grab.
Were you under the impression that that meeting was to close the deal, potentially?
Yes. So it wasn't at 10 p.m. It wasn't an invitation to come to his hotel room. It was an invitation to go to a hotel lobby that was within blocks of the office. And so that to me felt much safer than being alone with him in his office. He walked in with a brisk stride and found me in the lobby, didn't even sit down. And I had ordered a Diet Coke, and he threw cash on the table. And he said, "Hey, we're going this way." We get into the elevator, and before I know it, he opens the door and closes it and locks it. And I look around. I said, "I'm in Harvey Weinstein's hotel room. How did I get myself here?" And that's probably the wrong question to ask myself: how did I get myself here? But that's what I was doing the entire time. It's difficult to explain, but he is a master predator.
Weinstein denies all accusations of rape. His lawyer at the time, Benjamin Brafman, told us that there was no evidence of anything forceful in the video, only casual, awkward flirting from both parties. He also said that it was produced by Melissa to help her case in a civil lawsuit seeking money. For Melissa and many of the other accusers, this video doesn't just reveal bad behavior behind a locked door. It's also evidence of what they refer to as the Weinstein complicity machine, a system designed to serve up young women and look the other way.
They put money over morals, and I want my daughter to grow up in a world where decisions are made driven by a sense of humanity and compassion, and people are held accountable, because it's not just Harvey Weinstein. It's many people who could have done something and didn't.
I feel incredibly angry that Harvey harmed so many women, and that so many people supported his behavior. I think that's been the hardest thing to recognize, is that we were all duped, but duped by groups of people.
The only way someone like Harvey Weinstein gets away with what he did for so long to so many people is because there are people facilitating it around him. It's not just people looking the other way, it's people making it happen.
I think it was about business. They prioritized business over his behavior, being very immoral, unethical. It was all about winning the Oscars.
And the Oscars kept coming, until something unexpected brought down the King of Hollywood. By 2017, the Weinstein Company was a juggernaut worth millions. Harvey Weinstein was part of the network of the ultra-famous, uber-wealthy, and mega-powerful.
I will be embarrassing many superstars tonight, as usual, and I'm probably in that rare position to be able to get away with it, because, unfortunately, what can they do about it?
But then, something extraordinary happened. A small group of women published their stories. That included Rose McGowan, who had finally decided it was time.
I've been plotting and planning and playing my own game of chess, because culturally we weren't there. We weren't there, and I knew if I had just come out in some little story, I would have been crushed. They painted me as if I was erratic and crazy for years, and it would just go into their playbook. So I had to wait, and I had to bide my time.
Zelda Perkins broke free of her non-disclosure agreement.
I realised there must be lots of other people in my position, and that it was really important to show that if I broke the agreement, the earth wouldn't open up and swallow me, and that it would give other people the courage to come forward, and that we could just get this over and done with and expose him properly and send him down.
They got their timing right. Some of the most famous names in Hollywood came forward, alongside dozens of others.
It was one thing that the article came out, and I thought, okay, well, great, they got him, if you will. It was right after that he said, oh, it's such a good story, I want to buy the movie rights. It was such a condescending, disrespectful comment that I knew I had to do something. And he was threatening to sue the New York Times, and I thought, oh, absolutely not. I mean, I'll put my face out there.
I had no intention of saying anything publicly because honestly, who am I? I'm not, a major film star, but I knew those women were telling the truth. And I couldn't believe how brave they were for coming out against him. And so when a reporter called me and said that he had heard that something had happened to me in the past.
The house of cards came tumbling down with astonishing speed.
I'm trying my best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Harvey Weinstein's second wife left him. He was sacked from his own company, and he checked into a rehab clinic for sex.
No problem.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
But from the ashes of his entertainment empire rose the Me Too movement, and with it, a global reckoning on consent and the abuse of power.
I can't say that I anticipated the global aspect of it, but I was hoping that it would show people everywhere that they could topple a power structure, that it would have a big domino effect.
I have been silenced for 20 years. I have been slut-shamed. I have been harassed.
Would you call what has been sparked a revolution?
I think it's completely revolutionary. I can't remember the last time there was one, other than, there's the civil rights movement, there's the gay rights movement. We needed a revolution, we needed a reset. Women have played nice for a real long time. I didn't suspect it was getting women very far.
The thing that puts it in perspective for me is that so many men, they're saying, do we just live in fear or, feel uncomfortable or question how we're acting all the time? And it's like women have been doing that all of their lives, and, welcome to our world.
The movement grew, some feeling its power, others testing its limits. In May 2018, Harvey Weinstein was arrested and appeared in court, charged with sex crimes.
This defendant used his position, money, and power to lure young women into situations where he was able to violate them sexually. Our investigation is ongoing, and we have encouraged other survivors to come forward.
Seeing him in handcuffs, made me cry. I never thought I would see the day, that he would be in handcuffs. It was amazing.
I hope he's convicted. I hope this is a man who ruined lives. I mean, he ruined lives. He crushed dreams. He really destroyed so many women. I mean, he ran this town. He was the guy. If you wanted to be in a film, and if you wanted to be in good award-winning films, he was the only one to go to. So I hope he pays for that.
It leaves such a bad taste in your mouth. I don't want to relive it. It's truly horrifying, what he's done. And he deserves everything he gets.
It's like having somebody retroactively pull the rug out from under your 20s and saying it didn't really matter. It was all just awful. When people in my life found out that I used to work for Miramax, they were impressed. And I was proud of that. And now, I used to work at a New York-based film company. You know, I'm not going to say it if I'm not asked, because I'm ashamed of it. I should be ashamed of it.
The impulse to worship Weinstein rather than challenge him may have had consequences on a jaw-dropping scale. Dozens of women have joined forces to sue him, and their lawyer believes there could be many more.
How many women do you think Harvey Weinstein may have targeted?
I think we're talking about hundreds. I think it could be near 1,000. I think that based on what we know and what has already been made public, at least 150 women have come forward in some way. On top of that, we have employees who said that there were women in his office 3 times a week where they would have to go in and clean up after him, knowing that he had just done something and ejaculated. So if you're talking about 3 times a week, at least, for all the number of years that he's been in power at Miramax and the Weinstein Company, that's a lot of women.
And there are questions about how much really has shifted.
Do you think there are other Harvey Weinsteins out there in Hollywood?
I know for a fact there are other Harvey Weinsteins in Hollywood right now. I can name 20 people off the top of my head right now. It's Hollywood. They think if they get the ugly guy gone, then they can return to their like perfect looking world and still continue as they continue. You know, they think that basically it's like a red herring for the world. Look, see, we got rid of him. They didn't get rid of him. They didn't do anything of the kind. They gave him new deals and saved his business over and over.
Many of the accusers believe that lasting change will only come if there is victory in the courts, not just against Weinstein himself, but the businesses and people they believe protected him.
And so if we can send the message to these companies and these people who run these companies and set a precedent that protecting predators actually costs you more money than dealing with them and doing the right thing, then maybe things will start to change.
We need to start holding people accountable for witnessing abuses of power and not stopping it, not saying something, not intervening. Had people been more vocal and not said, yeah, that's Harvey, or yeah, we have to live with that. You don't. We don't have to live with things that are illegal and abusive, and we don't have to live with being raped when we think we're going to a business meeting.
The environment has to be changed. You know, the system that enables the behavior. You know, this is much bigger than Harvey Weinstein, and it's much bigger than gender. It's about power, and it's about how we respond as a culture to power.
There has been story after story, but Harvey Weinstein has consistently denied all allegations of non-consensual sexual contact. His brother Bob and other executives named in lawsuits also deny any wrongdoing. The Weinstein story and the fallout continue.
Once upon a time in Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein was an icon, but no more. His failing was a belief that he was so potent he could have anything or anyone he wanted, and damn the consequences. Weinstein lured young women to be his sexual playthings, knowing such was his influence, they'd be too frightened to call him out. And the plan worked for decades until finally his victims said enough. The movie mogul was publicly exposed. Now he's being made to account for his predatory behaviour in a New York court of law. But Harvey Weinstein's not going down without a fight, and he's worked out the best man for the job of taking on the Me Too movement is a woman.
He has set up a whole life and a company as a front for a rape factory, a human trafficking factory. I think it'd be best for everyone if he just ceased to exist.
Harvey Weinstein, once the world's most celebrated movie mogul.
His name is Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey.
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 Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein. And God, Harvey Weinstein.
Now better known as the evil face of Me Too. Crushed by an avalanche of sexual assault allegations. More than 90 women coming forward from within Hollywood and beyond.
Harvey, are you claiming all of these women are making this up?
Go to the bathroom. Please, I don't want to do something I don't want. Don't ruin your friendship with me for 5 minutes.
It's like David and Goliath.
They underestimated you.
Yeah, big time. Very much.
Tonight, as we wait for a verdict in his historic rape trial in New York, we turn the spotlight on Harvey's henchmen, the spies that hounded his victims. You don't care what people think of you?
I'll go away and say he's a dick, and I'll live with that.
And the controversial lawyer in his corner.
It's not unusual for women to lie. Women are attracted to powerful men. Women are attracted to older, powerful men.
This is the court case the women's movement Me Too has been waiting for. Harvey Weinstein finally facing trial for rape. But to the disgust and disbelief of many, it's a woman that's been by his side every step of the way. His lead attorney, Donna Rotuno. How does it feel to represent arguably the most hated man in the world?
I don't know if it's really fair to say that about Harvey Weinstein, but I know that that's definitely the way that the media has painted him. I was completely prepared for the scrutiny that I would be under when I took this on. I think what I wasn't prepared for was the Twitter attacks, prepared for people screaming at me when I walk into the courthouse, and, prepared for the direct messages I get on Instagram saying, I hope you get raped. In this great country, you are innocent until proven guilty.
Despite being so widely loathed, the 44-year-old is steadfast in her belief that Harvey Weinstein is not a rapist, and his accusers are just making all of this up.
I think the problem in a case like this up to this point is the fact that the emotion of this case has been taken over and common sense has been left outside.
But it's Rotuno's blunt, some say brutal way of delivering her message about the alleged victims that's particularly enraged so many people.
Women are attracted to powerful men. Women are attracted to older, powerful men. Women don't care what they look like. They don't care how big they are. They're attracted to the lifestyle and the benefit of the lifestyle. Women were throwing themselves at Harvey Weinstein.
The question that so many people come back to in all of this is, why would so many women make all of this up?
Well, I think there's a couple reasons. I think, one, there's definitely a financial and a monetary gain that's possible. I also think the motivation is not wanting to be the person who says, I had consensual behavior with Harvey Weinstein. I think that once people started coming out, women who, by any other account, if you look at the evidence, engaged in consensual behavior, now says, I don't want to be that person.
A major reason Weinstein chose Rotuno to represent him is because she's a woman, trying to soften the image of his defence team's cross-examinations at trial.
This type of a case requires the right lawyers. I think a woman standing here could make a difference.
And her record, well, it certainly speaks for itself. She's defended 40 men in sexual assault cases and only ever lost once. The lawyer sympathises with men accused of rape in this day and age, claiming it's become so hard for them to prove consent.
And people laugh at me all the time when I'm the one that says if I was a man in today's world, I'd make people sign consent forms. And they think I'm kidding, and I'm not.
So what, you think that's what the world's come to? A young man goes home with a girl and he's got to sign up.
I do. Or ask somebody to, record consent on your phone. I absolutely do. We want to have it both ways. And we also want to live in a world where men take on all the risk and women do as women want to do. And then at the end, we say, well, we have to believe all women. How is that a just, fair system for either side?
But women should be able to take risks without being raped.
Well, of course. But at the same time, to then say, I swipe right on Tinder, and then I go home with somebody and not think that they then may try to proposition me.
That almost sounds like you're saying when you go home, you're asking for it.
No, not at all. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you go home with someone after swiping right, to act as if you have no idea what that interaction may be or what you may be consenting to seems ridiculous to me.
This is what democracy looks like.
On the one hand, Rotuno claims to be a feminist, but at the same time says women have now actually got too much of a free ride on other fronts, particularly when claiming to have been sexually assaulted, suggesting nowadays they're believed far too easily.
Sexual assault and rape are the only crimes in our statutes where we can walk into a police station and say, I was raped and someone believed me. And that's it. That's all you have to say.
But when you talk about the idea of women facing no ramifications for just coming forward with claims like this, I mean, it's a traumatic experience. And you look at one of the women who took the stand here, the alleged victim, she ended up in tears from your cross-examination. She had a panic attack. I mean, that's hardly a walk in the park.
Well, and it isn't a walk in the park. But again, when we talk about this, even starting with the question, it was a traumatic experience, that means that you're presupposing it actually happened.
No, I'm saying to be able to garner the strength to take the stand and effectively be torn apart and have your life examined to a minor detail, that is not a scot-free experience.
No, it is not a scot-free experience. But if you are lying, or if you're bolstering, or if you're relabeling, or renaming, or changing the narrative about the truth, it's my job to figure that out.
I've never understood why people sell their soul to aid and abet a criminal.
Dear Harvey,
Rose McGowan is the most prominent force behind the Me Too movement.
today Lady Justice is staring down a super predator.
At just 22, she shot to fame after landing a leading role in the blockbuster movie Scream. The young and ambitious actress was bound to become Hollywood's next big star, but also Weinstein's next victim. At the 1997 Sundance Film Festival, he coerced Rose to a business meeting at his hotel, where he allegedly raped her. Give us a sense of the toll that it takes on you, the suffering after an attack like that.
Well, your life is really never the same. You know, you want it to be desperately. When you do get attacked, there's a huge part of you that's like, can we just go back to the hour before this happened where I was me?
Weinstein is obviously, in your mind, the lowest of the low, but all those people that are...
I think they're lower.
Honestly?
I do. I've always thought people that are complicit, whether through silence or through monetary gain, especially through monetary gain, what is wrong with you? He has set up a whole life and a company as a front for a rape factory, a human trafficking factory. And he had a lot of people there to help him with his big rape fantasy and his rape machine, right? I think it'd be best for everyone if he just ceased to exist, however that happens.
Donna Rotuno is happy to concede Harvey Weinstein, like most of her clients, is a sinner, but insists that doesn't mean he belongs in jail. You say there's a difference between sins and crimes.
Well, a sin is cheating on your wife. A sin is sleeping with multiple women. A sin is treating people badly at work. But a crime is a crime. And so, you know, is Harvey guilty of committing sins? Sure. That doesn't make you a criminal. And there's a lot of real estate between making bad choices and committing crimes.
But you have no issues representing a sinner?
No, because we don't criminalize morality in this country.
The natural flow on from that is that people would say you don't care about your morals.
Well, you know, they can say that all they want, but my job is to defend the system of justice under which we all live.
The most common criticism of Rotunno is that she engages in victim blaming, particularly when she recently declared she'd never been sexually assaulted because she'd never put herself in that position before. The Me Too movement's public enemy number one was always Harvey Weinstein, but now Donna Rotunno might not be far behind.
You've also said, I feel that women may rue the day Me Too started when no one asks them out on a date, no one holds a door open for them, or tells them that they look nice.
I was in Las Vegas. A gentleman in the elevator says, "You look very nice today." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And he says, "I hope you don't find that offensive." And I said, "No, I think it's very nice, thank you." And he said, "I don't want to get Me Too'd out of here." And I laughed, thinking you have no idea who you're talking to about this topic. But I thought, this is how men think today. And I think, wow, it's like the pendulum is swinging too far in the other direction. And do I think that it's good that men think about their actions or women think about their responses? Of course. But if it goes so far that somebody thinks they can't even give you a compliment, that's when I think it's gone too far.
I saw a headline in New York magazine the other day that said there's a special place in hell for Harvey Weinstein's lawyer. Does it hurt?
Sure. I mean, you're a human being. And I mean, to say that there's a special place in hell for me, especially when you know nothing about the other things that I do in my life. So sure, it hurts, but I know that that's not who I am. And I'm confident with that.
Coming up,
If someone's name is listed in red top priorities.
spies, lies and alibis.
Yeah, that's a cover. That's a way in.
The dark arts of the movement to crush Me Too. Black Cuba, it's run by some pretty hard bastards.
I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of them.
And the actress destroyed in the process.
These are people that hurt people. Get shaved years off my life.
That's next on 60 Minutes. Seth Friedman has made a living operating in the shadows.
There is an adrenaline rush. There is a kind of sense of mission that I've got.
He's a gun for hire, a spy digging for dirt on behalf of powerful, cashed-up clients. Oligarchs, business barons, but most notably, the notorious Harvey Weinstein.
I'm not there to think about, is he a nice guy? Is he a good dad? Does he pay his taxes? This was another job. This was a big executive with a problem.
The first rule of being a spy is that no one knows you're a spy. But in the widespread coverage of Weinstein, Seth's cover has been blown. And now he's revealing all to us about this sordid story. When you're filling out a form that asks your occupation, what do you put down?
These days I put spy because I might as well admit it.
Do you love your job?
I love it.
Why?
Because one, it's a natural fit for me, and also I think, you know, I don't have any moral issues with it.
In 2016, Seth was approached by the intelligence agency Black Cube and asked to conduct covert operations for Harvey Weinstein. He claims he was initially told Weinstein was investigating corporate rivals, not trying to defend himself against numerous accusations of sexual assault. Seth was given a hit list of 91 targets the Hollywood producer saw as threats, including the likes of actress Rose McGowan. When someone's name ended up on here, what did that mean?
If someone's name was listed in red, they're like a top priority target. But basically the idea was go through the list and try and find out who is saying negative things, because he wants a heads up as to what he thinks is going on. He wants it confirmed.
Black Cube certainly knows how to hunt a target. The firm is run by several former heads of Mossad, Israel's elite spy agency. Seth himself was also previously a member of the Israeli Defense Forces. It's not beat around the bush, Black Cube. It's run by some pretty hard bastards.
It certainly is. I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of them, but luckily, well, hopefully I'm not.
It's the dark arts, essentially, isn't it?
It is the dark arts. That are we in agreement on. I mean, like, of course it's the dark arts because that's the nature of spying.
Black Cube agents are suspected of intimidating dozens of Harvey Weinstein's accusers. The operatives, in some cases, befriending the women, even pretending to be from victims' support groups, with the intel then being sent straight back to Weinstein. Seth's tactic was simple. The seasoned spy would assume the role of a newspaper reporter, a job he genuinely once had, and then trick his targets into opening up.
Hello?
Hello? Hi.
Oh, hi, thanks for calling back.
That's the exact approach he took when he called Rose McGowan.
And I was just hoping I could maybe talk to you about a piece that we're doing.
So do you have specific questions? Or?
I said to her, like I said to pretty much everyone, I'm interested in doing a piece on life in Hollywood now, in 2017, whenever, compared to life in Hollywood when people started out, say, 20, 30 years ago.
That's straight out deception.
In what sense? Like, I mean, what deception is in, do I have an ulterior motive?
Well, you weren't working on a piece.
What if I then, let's say I did publish a piece a month later on life in Hollywood, but I was still passing that information back. Is that still straight out deception?
I mean, you're claiming that you're writing a piece. I mean, it's just fanciful.
Yeah, that's a cover. I wasn't writing a piece, but I said that I was because that's a way in. And then if you were looking back at your younger self...
Rose, unfortunately, walked right into the trap.
Well, that's because I actually have a signed document from the time of the attack.
She trusted Seth and opened up to him in this 75-minute phone call, including detailing her abuse by Harvey Weinstein. Information that Seth then sent straight back to the boss. Would you describe yourself as a moral person?
What does a moral person, I mean, against what benchmark is morality set? As long as I can live with what I do, and I've never had a sleepless night thinking, oh, that's so evil what I do or have done.
But there were alleged victims of sexual assault who, many cases where they say that these double agents came to them, of which you were one of them, and it did muddy the waters for them, and it made them hesitant then to come forward and speak out because they didn't know who they could trust. And like it or not, that silences people.
Sorry, there's one person who says that. That's Rose McGowan.
Black Cube came after you personally.
Yeah.
What toll did that take on you?
I think it shaved years off my life. I think them coming after me spun my brain and still does in a way that's fractured a part of me that I don't think will ever fix. But these are people that hurt people, and that's their job. Their job is to hurt other people, so, I hope they're proud at night.
Rose McGowan was targeted by Black Cube because she was seen as a threat.
I feel scared here. I don't feel safe,
Like many of Weinstein's rape accusers, Rose was intimidated into signing a non-disclosure agreement, paid $100,000 to stay silent.
I went to a therapist in New York for trauma issues, and she suggested I get a puppy.
Almost 2 decades after her attack, in the wake of Me Too, Rose finally garnered the strength to share her story. But she quickly learned it wasn't just Weinstein she was taking on.
In your mind, you're at war.
Yes. I have been, ever since I got raped.
But the thing with Harvey Weinstein is he has an army behind him.
He has a real one. But he has an army of spies, lawyers, minions. It's an army of the complicit, of people that they're going to the mat for a serial rapist. Because he makes movies that win an Oscar? What?
Do you see it just basically as evil?
Yes, it is evil. It's literally a web of evil.
It's like she's got a screw loose. She's not hero and I'm villain unless you in a very childlike, someone has to be good and someone has to be bad. I mean, her saying I do the bidding of evil, still I'll probably sleep tonight, I reckon, yeah.
Coming up...
Massage something.
I'm shy.
Inside the plot to catch a monster in the act.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
Please come in now.
And how this brave model, they underestimated you.
Yeah, big time.
Outsmarted a mogul.
It's like David and Goliath.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
I will mentor you, I teach you, whatever, but you have to, relax with me, have fun, enjoy,
You're listening to Harvey Weinstein in full flight. Part of this secretly recorded audio from 2015 has only just been released.
What? A massage, something fun.
I'm shy.
I know, but a massage, something nice.
Cold, hard evidence of Weinstein pressuring a young woman into his hotel room.
Can I stay on the bar?
No, you must come here now.
Not today, maybe. No.
A little bit.
Please. No, I don't want to.
All right, we'll see.
Threatening her and her career.
If you don't trust me, then we have no reason to do anything, and you will lose big opportunities.
Harvey Weinstein paid $1 million to have that audio destroyed, and it's pretty obvious why. It shows just how sleazy and manipulative the movie Mogul could be. But that was just a taste of his tactics, as the woman you heard there, Amber Battalana, found out. Intimidation, attack dogs, media manipulation, they were all part of his arsenal to abuse and silence vulnerable young women. But as you'll see, this victim outsmarted Weinstein. Amber moved to New York at the age of 22 to further her modelling career, and soon after was headhunted by Harvey Weinstein for a casting at his office. That morning, it quickly became clear that while she was there for work, he was there for pleasure.
I kept saying, so nice to see you again, so nice to see you again. And anyway, there was a moment he stared at me and asked me, "Is your breast real?" And I'm like, "What? Yes?"
First it was Weinstein's eyes on Amber. Quickly, it was his hands.
It was first my breast, and then he put his hand on my leg and tried to kiss me. So yeah, it was very fast. Like, I couldn't even react.
Amber was horrified and fled the office, soon after breaking down in tears and then going straight to police.
When I spoke to the police guy, I said, "Harvey Weinstein assaulted me." And he answered, "Again?" And I'm like, "What do you mean again? This happened before?"
Police were desperate to land the big fish, so asked Amber to take a huge risk. They wanted her to wear a wire and meet Weinstein for a drink at a hotel bar the very next night.
I was so distressed, but I really want people to believe me. Like, it was my voice of a 22-year-old model against, that powerful person. It's like David and Goliath.
Yesterday you touched my breast.
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on. I'm used to that. Come on.
Are you used to that?
Yes, come in. Please come in. On everything. I'm a famous guy.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
Please come in now. I will never do another thing to you. 5 minutes. Don't ruin your friendship with me for 5 minutes.
It's amazingly brave that you managed to record this, because when you listen to Harvey in that mode, he's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. I mean, you have big, strong man in front of you, and you know that is aggressively pushing with his words, but for sure at one point is gonna push with his body.
This recording was exactly what police needed. They brought Weinstein in for questioning the following day. But he fought fire with fire, spearheading a salacious smear campaign in the media to intimidate and discredit his victim.
She once filed a sexual assault suit against a 70-year-old, quote, sugar daddy.
It worked. Amber found herself under siege when she met with the district attorney's sex crimes chief a few days later.
First moment I saw her, I said, great, she's a woman. First question she asked me, were you a prostitute? And I'm like, what, sorry? Did you hear the recordings? And she's like, yeah, I heard that, but could you answer me these questions? Have you ever had a whole boyfriend?
It must have felt like that was Harvey Weinstein's own personal lawyer attacking you at that stage.
Yeah, I walked out of that room and I said inside my head, that's not good. That's not gonna be good.
And she was right. Weinstein once again turned to the dark arts, this time paying a friend of the district attorney to dig up dirt on Amber and feed it back to the DA's office. Not long after that, the investigation was dropped. Eventually, Amber caved to the constant intimidation and harassment and signed a non-disclosure agreement in return for $1 million. Another victim had been silenced, or so they thought.
For signing this NDA, they asked me to destroy every single piece of evidence of those recordings.
They underestimated you.
Yeah, big time. Very much.
I need to know a person's
I won't do a thing.
Thankfully, before submitting to their demands, Amber downloaded a secret copy of the recording and hid it under lock and key for more than 2 years. Now, she's violating that $1 million gag order to share her story and this rare piece of evidence with us tonight. Her message is clear. She will do whatever it takes to show the world that Harvey Weinstein is a twisted and dangerous man. Coming up,
the road to justice is long.
Waiting for a jury.
For those who are victims.
But this is just the beginning for Weinstein.
This is the age of empowerment of women.
As Rose McGowan vows,
he unleashed the hounds of hell on me.
To keep fighting.
I've got some powerful allies too.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
This trial still has, it seems, a long way to run.
The world is watching and waiting.
Well, he faces 5 charges, meaning the jury will have to find 5 separate consensus verdicts.
The jury in the historic trial of Harvey Weinstein has now been deliberating on a verdict for 4 days. His legal team has already declared that if the 67-year-old is sent to jail, his health is so poor that he'll probably die behind bars. But the longer deliberations drag on, the more observers worry that he's going to get off these charges. Even if Harvey Weinstein is found not guilty here, he's still far from a free man. He's already facing separate criminal charges in Los Angeles relating to alleged attacks there, and that'll drag on for months, if not years yet. And then there's the prospect of civil suits, numerous women suing him for hundreds of millions of dollars in damages.
The road to justice is long.
But you're on the way.
But we are moving towards justice for those who are victims.
Gloria Allred is the lawyer representing a number of Harvey Weinstein's alleged victims, including one in this trial in New York.
It's her hope that justice will be done.
It's been a battle even making it this far, with only 2 of his 90 accusers getting their cases to criminal trials.
What do you think of the prosecution's case so far? I have good lawyers.
Some incidents happened too long ago, so have passed the statute of limitations. In other instances, prosecutors didn't think the cases were strong enough to go ahead, simply because they were cases of he said, she said. But Gloria believes we are now witnessing a defining moment in legal history, where women are finally being heard.
It's very significant. I have never seen so many criminal prosecutions of rich, famous, powerful figures who are being charged with gender violence, rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse of women.
Why is it? What set off the avalanche?
This is the age of empowerment of women, and They're just not willing to suffer in silence anymore. They want to do something about it.
Rose McGowan continues to inspire the army brought to life by the Me Too movement.
We are free, we are beautiful, we are strong, and you will never take that from us.
And she's adamant that even if Weinstein wins this battle, they'll be making sure he still loses the war.
And he will be tied up in courts for a very, very long time, hopefully as long as he lives.
The justice system won't hold him to account. You will.
Oh, I'll be there. He unleashed the hounds of hell on me. I've got some powerful allies too.
There were HR officials who were told about his behavior within his own company. There were lawyers who were brought in to strike settlements, but it's not 100% clear exactly what went on behind the scenes of the Weinstein Company board in 2015. But what's clear is that the board was aware of the Italian model's allegation.